Hello! Today we will be demonstrating the Valid8 MCX server conformance tester. Specifically, we will be running the conformance tests that test the MCPTT server client configuration and server client operation. We will be demonstrating a group of tests defined in the specification 3GPP TS 36.579-3. The configuration scenarios test configuration, authentication, user authorization, UE configuration, and user profile communications between an MCPTT server and client. The operation scenarios test various features such as MCPTT group calls like prearranged group calls with floor control and imminent peril, emergency alert, broadcast group calls, etc. This slide is the network diagram of the tests being run between the server and client. For these tests, the Valid8 MCX conformance tester is acting as an MCPTT client, sending the relevant messages for the various test scenarios to an MCPTT server DUT, device under test. For this demonstration, we will be running the Valid8 MCX server conformance tester against an MCPTT server emulator. In these test scenarios, we are testing an MCX server that is a combined controlling and participating server. There are other 3GPP MCX server test scenarios where only an MCX controlling server function is tested or only an MCX participating server function is tested, as seen in these diagrams. For example, here, in this case, the MCPTT controlling server is tested. And in these tests, it's to testing a prearranged group call being done. And in these cases, the Valid8 MCX server conformance tester will be acting like an MCPTT client and MCPTT participating server, making the call to a controlling server and then also receives the call on the other side, acting as, again, an MCPTT participating server and MCPTT client. This is when the DUT is a controlling server. Now, for a participating server, when you're trying to test a same kind of feature, the prearranged group call, this case, the Valid8 MCX server conformance tester would be acting as an MCPTT client as well as a controlling server, participating server, and a client on the other end to receive the call. Or maybe it's initiating the call, depending on the test. Now over here is our application. This is the application console page. Here we see this is the campaign file that will run all the 3GPP tests that test an MCX server that is a combined controlling and participating server. And so while we run the test, we can also run a Wireshark trace to collect all the messages that are exchanged when the test is run. To do that, you go over here on the left menu and you click the remote capture, and there's a string that you can generate. You select, maybe you want to select any interface that's coming out of your machine. The client is SSH, and you can say whether you want to ignore certain traffic on the Wireshark, and I have ignored some here. I will copy this string, and then I can paste it here at the command line prompt. Press enter. The username and password is similar to how you log into the Valid8 tester. It is the user protocol engine, password's Valid8, And here I got a Wireshark trace going. For MCX, we are going to filter the Wireshark trace on HTTP and as well as SIP messages. And so now I'll go back to the console. And here, I'm going to start the test. Also, I just want to point out over here, you can click this edit button, and you actually can see the campaign file itself. And this file says which tests are going to be run. Let me just move this over here. So you can use wildcard and or say specifically the name of the test that you want to run. In this case, we're using a wildcard character to say we want to run all the tests in this directory, but it could be maybe you only want to run an MCPTT server and client configuration test. You don't want to do operation. You only want to do configuration. And that test is 5.1. You could change this and type the name of the scenario right here and replace the star here with that. It would only run one test. In this test, or I'm sorry, in this demonstration, we're running all the tests here, and so that's why it's a star here, a wildcard character. And so now I will click the play button, which will start running these tests that are listed in this campaign. As you can see, all the HTTP messages are getting sent here in the Wireshark, as well as down here below, it's telling you when the test is run, and it's checking these messages that are getting exchanged between the tester and the MCX server, whether it passes or fails the criteria as defined in the 3GPP test specification. So here it's running all the way through, and you see there's some SIP messages like a SIP subscribe or notify, and it's just going through all these different tests. You also can see these details of how the test is running by looking at the EXR trace. And here you can read it and see very clearly. Kind of move things around here so you can see. What's the messages? These are all passing. And the comment can say specifically what's happening, which is saying it's making an on-network call, that the media setup was successful, the originating call has passed. It will just tell you what is passing and why, or if there's a failure, it will tell you, if there was a failure, why the test failed.